Welcome to Golden Chat, where we provide straight talk. Each week, we deliver insights on senior living to help you live easier or invest easier. I'm your host, Stella, with your co host, Pedro. And
Morning.
today we have with us Robyn. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello,
Hi,
Robin.
Stella. Hi.
Okay, so Robyn, we are very happy to have you today because we want to talk about, and I'm going to put that on the screen. We want to talk about how does assisted living placement work for seniors. So we thought you would be the best person to help us actually answer that question and give tips and insights and better understanding to seniors who are actually looking for somebody like you to help them. So before we get into that, how about you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Robyn Edelstein, and I started a business a few years ago called Robyn's Referrals. And basically, what I do is help families navigate the often very confusing process of assisted living or simply just senior care. So many families are faced with difficult decisions and unexpected. Maybe a family member gets rushed to the hospital and they weren't planning for this, so they don't know what to do next. So that's really where I come in. The hospitals or the social workers and nursing homes will reach out to me and ask me to help these families navigate the process. So I've become very successful in helping people choose the right facility, whether that is based on their budget, location, individual desires or needs. Maybe they have a pet. I mean, there's so many questions that you can ask these facilities, and families will go crazy calling each and every one and getting all these answers. So during normal times, what my process was is the family would reach out to me, usually in crisis, and they would ask me to help them. So I would, do a little conversation with them on the phone, find out what part of town, what their budget is, what individual desires they have, and then we'll come up with a game plan. And I'll choose a couple of facilities that seem to meet their needs, and then I will go with them, and we will tour these facilities together. The benefit of having me or someone like me along with them for this journey is one, I save them time, so they're not running around looking at facilities that don't meet their needs. And
Mhm.
two, I pretty much help them get the rates down. If they have a true budget that they need to stick to, well, I'm going to fight for them to be able to attain that rate. And I will really step in for anything. Maybe their desire is to take the family member home from the hospital. I can help them get private duty care in their home health, maybe a home visiting physician, whatever it is they need. I kind of step in and act as a family member right along with them, as well as an advocate. My background is social work, and I've worked in skilled nursing facilities throughout Central Florida. And it just started making sense to me to help each family find their special, unique home or help them live safely in their own home.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
it is. So you mentioned that most of the people that you deal with and the seniors. So are you? They reach out to you because they are in crisis. So is it the seniors that reach out to you or their families who actually make the call?
It's usually the families, honestly, and but there are cases where there's a resident in a skilled nursing facility and they don't have any local family. And I will go there and I will sit with them and we'll come up with a game plan together. But yes, it is great when there's an active family member and we can run around and look at places. I've also helped families. Not everybody can afford assisted living. It does get costly. And there are some facilities that take Medicaid. So I kind of help them narrow down those facilities, help them get the Medicaid. And there's another benefit called aid in attendance through the VA Association. And they, if somebody, a veteran or a spouse, had served one day during a wartime period, we can get them additional funding. The VA doesn't really advertise that, so it's a wonderful benefit. And so I help families figure out other resources to pay for assisted living.
Got you. So it sounds like you do all inclusive services
I
with
do.
with the clients, right? Okay, that's good. So
I do.
the client or the individual who's needing service does become your client, and you're the advocate for that client. So then then solicit a placement location for them based on the
Yes.
network based on a network of facilities that you deal with, correct?
Absolutely. And one thing I
Gotcha.
should probably clarify is never ever do the families don't pay 1 cent for my services ever. And I work so hard for them and getting these rates down and everything, but it's a free service to them. And it's pretty much a win-win because I end up saving them money and they don't have to pay for that. So it's great.
Right. So they don't have to knock on doors that you can knock on for them.
That's right.
That's
Right.
amazing.
And
What do you think the time frame is? I'm sorry. So what do you think
oh,
the time frame is from, possibly receiving a call maybe today or yesterday for a placement?
sure. So I tell you that the hospitals are very familiar with me because I do come from the skilled nursing world. And in that industry, when they have to discharge a patient, they have to discharge a patient and immediately. So assisted living is a little bit of a slower process because they're moving into their forever home. So, but they still reach out to me. So I can literally place somebody in their new home in the same day. Ideally, it's always better to proactively plan these things instead of reactively. But I can do something within a day, and I have someone I'm working on now that's not moving until December. So,
So it kind of varies. That the
Got
timing
you.
yeah,
varies
I did
depending
like
on
the
how
term
the.
that you use, forever home.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I like when you said forever home. I like the term forever home. What I'm gonna tell you that I like really is the aspects that you have that background in nursing home. Because what typically happens a lot is that individuals are in long-term care facilities, right? And the documentation that's needed to make that bridge into a community-based location, individuals aren't really privy to that. So your experience allows that to happen, and that's amazing that you can find a placement, in a 24-hour span, because that's at times, I mean, I would say that's incredibly unheard of at times. So that's amazing in itself.
Yeah.
So that's a credit
yes,
to your experience for sure.
I've done one in a couple hours. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, I'd rather families were proactive, but you don't always have
Right.
that luxury, right?
Right. Because you know exactly who to call. So where a family member would have to get on a list and start down that list of calls to see if there's any vacancies, where you are it appears that you already know that. So, and you have a
Right.
relationship. So that relationship is very important. Great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you touch on it, Pedro, and I love that. And let's try and look at it from the seniors and family point of view. Let's turn a little bit
Right. Right.
and see. Okay, I'm the family member of like my mother, my auntie, whoever my loved one is, and then they're in crisis. They're at the hospital, so I'm assuming the case manager reach out to you. So then what happens? What is it that I have to provide to you? What's happening to me, and what kind of information do you need from me? Just actually walk us through the process of the family members themselves. What are they experiencing? What they need to provide? How they need to get ready? All of that. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So yeah, Robin, when a person you get a call from that client, or referral from the hospital. So the next step would then be what for the family member and the
Oh,
client.
I apologize. I thought you were asking Pedro. Absolutely. The case managers know like what they have to send to basically that's another point where I come in very handy is I know like all the paperwork that needs to be gathered. There's medical equipment that these residents are entitled to pay for through Medicare. So if you're moving into assisted living, like we said, that's their forever home. So we want it to look like home as much as possible, which usually means bringing your own furniture, your own belongings, your bedding, just so you feel like you're at home. But they're also entitled to hospital beds and walkers and wheelchairs and shower benches. So basically, the case managers at these hospitals will send either mail paperwork or directly to the facility a form, and it's called an 1823. And basically, that's just a medical snapshot of the client, and it literally lists what they need assistance with, what they're independent with, and I guess something we should touch on is assisted livings. Typically, it depends if you're going to a small, a residential home, which are amazing, and they get a lot of tender, loving care there because it's, a lower patient staff ratio versus a large facility. Um, but most of the facilities, there's a room and board charge, which is simply just the room and your incidentals. But then there's a care charge on top of that. So that 1823 will dictate what those care charges are. If you need assistance with bathing or dressing or medication management, those things usually are over and above the room and board charge.
Got you. Got you. So, in the aspects of family, they'll just need to tell you what their income, they'll tell you what, their budget is, incidentals that they may be paying, such as, life insurance premiums, insurances, copays, and things like that. And then based on the amount that they can afford is kind of what you tend to work with in navigating their monthly cost to that facility of choice.
Yes, and I think maybe I didn't answer the question entirely.
No,
What
no,
is the family responsible? Well, thank you. What the family's responsible, that's where I come in. I try to take that headache off the families.
gotcha.
They've got enough worrying about, placing their loved one in a facility, permanently. So I try and take all that heartache off of them. So they really don't have to do, once they come to me or someone who does what I do, they don't have to really do or worry about anything. I will navigate that process. I will get the paperwork that's needed. I will remind them and help them attain any medical equipment needed. So their involvement, other than being a supportive loved one, I try to keep their focus on that,
Got you. So
and
what?
I take all the other stuff off.
So do you usually typically narrow it down to 2 to 3 choices for the client and the family to do a
I,
visit, or is that kind of
I try
end of the day?
to. So
Gotcha.
yeah. Yeah, if they come, if once we discuss either in person or on the phone, what their budgets, and it's so unusual. Like everybody has different, unique desires. Maybe somebody wants a balcony. Maybe they have a 60-pound dog. Maybe they truly want 2 windows. Or, I mean, it's just everyone is so unique in this world. And these clients are sometimes 80, 90 years old. And they've lived their lives. I
Mhm.
want them to maintain as much normalcy as they've always had. So once I hear all their desires and income, and I really narrow it down to about 2 or 3, Pedro, and then we'll go. I usually do pretty well. I usually kind of get it on the first tour,
Okay.
and if I don't, then we'll keep going. But I'm pretty good at like figuring out where each resident will fit in.
Okay. This will be my
So
last question for you
go
then.
ahead.
The aspects of are you that the liaison for the unrealistic expectations with the client? And I say that because you mentioned dog like twice. So if a person has an ailment, and they're unable to care for the dog, though the dog is part of their family, or they may have an unrealistic expectation, cost, price, because sometimes, this process can bring sticker shock, right? And that's one of those sensitive areas that nobody for some reason never wants to talk about until towards the end. Are you that person when they contact you that has that serious conversation with them?
I do, and I will. I had a client once, and she was at home, and she was not ready to go to assisted living, honestly. And I would meet with her and her family like monthly. In the beginning, I at least got her to agree to private duty care,
Hmm.
just to so the family had a sense of peace that somebody was checking on her. So about a year later, she did take a fall and ended up in rehab, and I was like, okay, it's time now, right? So we got her into a facility, and she was like, "Why didn't you make me do this a year ago?" I was like, "We've been trying." So as far as sticker shock, they all face it. They all do. It's a lot of money. I mean, it really, really is. That's why I'm trying to find them other resources to help pay. And as far as animals go, you'd be surprised. A lot of facilities now are offering services where they'll walk the dogs and care for them. Um, about 2 years ago, it was you had to be able to take care for your pet. I mean, if you wanted a pet in your room, you had to be able to care for it. Now I'm seeing like some of the newer facilities opening that offer pet services. So it's kind of cool.
Cool. Still up.
Yeah, I'm going to have a last question for you as well. You mentioned, and I'm trying to to put myself in the shoes of the family members. And so, when you walk the facility with them, what is it that you help them with exactly? Because I am, from what I understand, not every placement agency would do that. So, what is it that when you accompany them, is it just for support, or is it as well because there's something you can point out to them to pay attention to?
Yes. Okay, that's a good question. So once we've narrowed down a few facilities, what will happen is we'll meet at the first one and we'll go sit down and usually sit with the salesperson. And everyone's different in this world, right? So I want them to not feel pressured or like they're being, I don't want it. I want them to feel as less stress as possible. So, they always want to get their phone number and they want to call them. And, I take that away. I say, you contact me directly and I will communicate until they decided to move into that facility. So I take that pressure off because this is a hard enough decision. And then we'll walk around the facilities and I already have spoken with them, so I know what they're looking for. But I almost act like it's my first time there every time at a facility because I'm seeing it through their eyes. I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing it through the daughter's eyes, and I know what she's looking for. So I will ask questions that pertain to that individual family. And yes, of course, after we leave, I will point out some things that maybe I noticed just to bring to their attention. And then when it's all done, after we've seen 3 or 4, we kind of compare and see which facility crossed off the most boxes. And if we didn't hit it in those 3 or 4, well, we'll go see 3 or 4 more.
Wow, that's amazing. Robyn, you're doing an amazing job, and I want to thank you. You know,
Thank you.
it's great to know that individuals have that one-stop shop. And if you have any questions for us, give us a call at 321-236-9633, or feel free to email us at hello easierliving number 4u.com. You can always find our previous podcast on www.easierlivingforyou.com. We look forward to seeing you next week at 12:45. Robyn, again, I want to thank you for coming out.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Thank you very much, Robin. We really appreciated it. Thank you.
Thank you.